Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It's your Cape Crusader Cody, and we're keeping it geekly with the one and the only Pat Shan. King of Kickstarters, I think we could say, right? 53 as of today. Is that the most that's been done on the platform?
I don't know. It's a lot, it's
Yeah.
yeah, I dramatically ramped up production last year. Previously, before 2023, I had only done, I think the highest amount was 5 or 6 in 1 year. And then last year we did one per month on the main line, Space Between Entertainment. And then we launched the Cheeky Comics imprint for the spicier stuff. So that took us to, I think, maybe 18 or 20 last year, something like that. And then this year we're going a lot harder with a launch every month on both Space Between and Cheeky Comics. And we're going to be slowly rolling out new imprints as well.
Oh, wow. So I have you down. Just some of your own IP, Destiny New York, Snap Flash Hustle. Also done work for Charmed, Adventure Time, Disney, wrote novels for Marvel, Guardian of the Galaxy's Iron Man, and Spider-Man. Holy crap, Pat. This is just a remarkable work that you have behind you. Where did everything begin for you?
Where did everything begin? I mean, I always wrote as a kid. I always loved the written word. I remember being 7 years old, and I was gifted with Goosebumps books. And I tore through those, loved them, and I would write sequels to the books, 1 or 2 pages on a typewriter as a kid. And as time passed, I kept doing fan fiction. I was doing fan fiction for Harry Potter, and then I moved on to doing what in my head was original, but really was just more fan fiction. It was myself and my friends kind of acting out Dragon Ball Z as a novel. Journaling. I used to write lyrics. From when I was like 9 years old to 16, 17, 18, I tried to be a rapper, and then I tried to be a screamo singer.
What was your rap name?
I don't want to say. I had a few. I was always just trying to find new avenues to write, and it got professional. My first breaks were toward the middle to end of college. I broke into theater. I was doing off Broadway in New York City, and what's funny is I've said off Broadway before, and people who aren't really in the theater community think that's a joke, but it's not. Off Broadway is what you call it. It's not off Broadway, which is still a pretty big thing, but it's small theaters, often free, often $10 a ticket, and you just put on shows. I was doing short plays, one-act plays, and then from there I got into some lit magazines with short prose, and eventually I began to get comics work. Started out with IDW Publishing. My first ever gig was on Angel, the Buffy spinoff. I did a 2-page story in that was a dream come true for me. And then pretty soon after that, I got my first gigs through Zenescope. And by the time I got my first miniseries from Zenescope, they made me a staff writer. So that's where I was for years.
That's so cool. And I love the way you kind of just broke into it doing the theater work. I mean, doing the one-man acts, the one-man shows. That, to me, just sounds so nerve-wracking to go up against an audience like that and just put your heart and soul out. Like, what was that experience like for you?
Well, I'll tell you this. It was never me on stage. It was my writing, but I personally wasn't the guy on stage. It was I would write some 2-man shows, and I would it was this thing called Shots. It was the first Monday of every month. This group, kind of like a comedy drama group, they would invite writers to do a little showcase. So sometimes every month, sometimes every few months, I would get chosen, and it would be a short play. Largely 2, 3, 4 actors. They would give you a set cast of who's going to be in it, so you could write for them. And then I began to do some longer work and even some stage readings. So sometimes it was as casual as a performance, yes, on stage, but the actors sometimes had the script on them, so you could hear the audience react, laugh in the right moments, emotionally react. So sometimes and you could workshop the play as you hear it out loud. So that was, it wasn't so much nerve-wracking for me, it was more such a cool sense of feedback, because it was so, you were part of the reaction, you were immediate, you could see, if there was an actor who wasn't hitting the line right, if that's going to be your actor, you have to make them. You have to change the line to make them hit it right, and you can see the weakness or the strengths too in your own dialogue. So for me, it wasn't personally nerve-wracking. It was very exciting. And I actually, as I'm talking about it, I do miss that. It's just that comics is such a grind that once I began to get successful in comics, it was really full speed ahead.
I really love that, the adaptability. I was going to ask you how you were able to just keep up with so many different genres, but having to be able to change your script to fit your actor on the fly, I mean, I think that just speaks volumes about your work ethic and your ability to, do that. How do you keep yourself from burning out? I mean, holy crap, you put out so much work. Even like since I first met you and we've been introduced, you've just been dropping titles left and right. Like, how do you keep the machine going?
Well, what I'm putting out, I love. I'm in a position where I don't take many gigs these days as far as work for hire goes. I have sort of my I want this gig method and my I don't want this gig, but I could use the money method. Mm-hmm. If I get approached for a gig that I think is going to be fun, interesting, is going to stretch me creatively, I will, hear them out, and I will largely work with the rate. But the truth is that there are a lot of gigs that I don't want, that I get offered. And most of the time I say no, but if it's in a discussion where I'm discussing the rate back and forth, my general method is to ask for double what they're offering, because I consider myself very lucky to be working in comics. So I don't really want to say outright no to a well-paying gig. At the same time, it's valuable time. I'm always, no matter what dollar amount I get from a work for hire gig, there's no company that could offer me more than I make on my own. So I ask for the absolute most amount possible. And my thought is, if they say no, I'm free of the gig. And if they say yes, I'm putting food on the table for the people who work for me, because I'm going to be working for this company in a way that's not taking me away in a non-financially beneficial way.
I think that is a really interesting business approach as well. I mean, you're making sure you get paid, you're making sure your people get paid. And ultimately, if the other, collaborators or the person offering it, want it bad enough, they're going to snag it. So that's a win-win. I mean, so we are here to talk about I was going to say your latest Kickstarter, but your second latest Kickstarter, Wild Wisp Issue 1. Everyone watching, right here is a link. Be sure to back today. If you're unable to back, put that on Twitter and Facebook. Word of mouth is 100% free. Had a chance to check out some of these interiors, and I love it. I mean, I'm a big cat guy, so I'm instantly drawn to a cat. And best of all, they're elemental too, so they have different powers. Some of them are godlike, some of them are ordinary, help you with chores around the house. Where did this inspiration come from?
A bunch of things. I'm an animal lover, so I've done books before that had some kind of magical animal, but I always liked the idea. I grew up watching things like Digimon, Pokemon, still love that to this day. And I wanted a world like that where we could essentially create our own animals and, build from there, sort of tell a high fantasy story that is both its own epic tale of revenge and redemption, while getting to explore the bond between human and creature. I'm an animal lover myself. I have 4 cats, and that great bond between animal and human, that's it's something that's hard to put into words. So I wanted to explore it through fiction. I love my cats more than anything. I have always been an animal person. Most of the accounts that I follow online are animals, cats mostly. But even things like, I'll see, the other day I saw a bird puff its neck out, and I just thought, it's so, it's so cool that we share the world with these creatures. And it's a common kind of existential thought. Sometimes I'll look at my cats and be like, man, it's crazy that I'm one species and I have it in this box that I live in, this other species just living with me, and I'm outnumbered, bro. So I just love the idea of we can't communicate with animals in a direct language, so we develop this sort of language between ourselves, and that bond is where this book largely comes from.
Isn't it crazy, the psychology behind cats? Like their meow is supposed to it's similar to like a baby. Like when babies cry, the human instinct is to go to it. So cats started learning that, and I don't know if that's 100% true. I heard about it, and it seems right. Whenever a cat meows, like I have to go to it.
I don't know either, but it works very well on me. When it's time for them to eat, it's crazy. If you ever follow me on Twitter and see my Twitter spaces that I'm in, there'll be a certain time where if my mic is on, you're gonna hear the cats going crazy.
Yeah, and they get it down to a T. Every time I wake up, I see mine right by the bowls, just sitting there looking at me, and I'm like, all right, guys, like I got it. These wisps, they're elemental. What are some of your favorites that we can talk about?
My favorites, the main wisp of the book, the mascot of sorts is Tonkarex. It's a flying cat. It has elements of other animals. The way it attacks is a bit reptilian. It has bat-like wings. It's sort of the coloring is dragon-like. I just wanted this kind of cool blend of fantasy and reality, and it was important to me that with Tonkarex that the main features, the face and the body shape, was cat-like, because I wanted this to appeal to cat lovers. I wanted a book where it's clear what kind of animal this is representing, where there's other wisps, like for example Nary, who was introduced in my Emerald Fantasy short, who is a major factor in this book. That wisp is sort of, you look at her and you can get an element of fox, of dog, of cat, and sometimes even of rabbit with the ears. And with all those wisps, I wanted to blend animals, and some are straight up blends, and some are sort of an animal and an idea mixed together. Like we have a Wartigrade is a tardigrade that is built for war. So we have these puns with some of them, but with Tonkarex, the mascot, I wanted it to be largely cat, and then the other elements added on, so you could still see, you could see your own cat in this creature.
And I really love how you blended the elemental aspects with the animal aspects as well. This world just sounds insane. What type of adventure are we looking at in Wild Wisps? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, for sure. It's high fantasy. It's largely 2 warring kingdoms, and we follow this human Kino and his wisp Tonkarex as they are trying to get into the high guard of the army that represents their area. And it is an insane test. It's a test that dozens and dozens try out every few months, and only 5 have ever passed in one go, and only 10 have ever survived in one go. So the first issue is this big trial for them to get in. And what we learn as we go along is that Kino has knowledge of something that could kind of tilt the scale of the war and either blow it into something big or completely end it for his side. He knows about a mythic wisp, which is a special variant of a wisp that has a world-altering power. So, for example, the standard Tonkarex is able to fly, it can bite, it can scratch, and it's very fast. And it can pick up a sort of like tornado-esque power with its wings. But a mythic Tonkarex, for example, may have a power to, with its mind, change the shape of anything into anything that it envisions. It could change a person into a door. It could change a different wisp into a tiny version of itself so it could destroy even the most powerful wisp. So that kind of thing, where this rare variant, this 1 in a million variant of a wisp, is largely thought to be a myth in this world. But Kino knows about a real mythic wisp, and that secret that he and his Tonkarex harbor is the tension between himself and the army that he joins as he begins to rank up.
Carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders has to be excruciating. That I could not even imagine, like, just knowing that knowledge and knowing what it could result in, what that would feel like. I love everything that goes into this. The interiors look gorgeous. Can we give a little bit of a shout out to the creative team?
Yeah, for sure. The pencils, that's the Betsy Zitro. He's an artist who I've been looking at for a long time. I was looking at him for a potential Destiny New York spinoff, and we talked early on, and then that didn't pan out. And when it became time for this, I reached out to him again, and my guy Chris Halton, who is my operations manager and the assistant editor on Wild Wisps, he managed to secure the deal. I'm very grateful for that because Nebetsi, I wanted to work with him for such a long time, and it's being colored by James Alfredi. James is the colorist on multiple titles for me. I Summon Cthulhu to fund my Kickstarter, which you see right here. Vix the Hunter, Only Friends with Pen. He does a bunch for me, and I thought that he would be, he's managed to sort of, he's proven that he can do any style. I can't show the pages here because they're not safe for work, but he did on Only Friends with Pen that has a very sort of heartfelt, funny, lovey-dovey vibe, and he added this sort of neon warmth to it. And then over the same artist on this vampire epic, Countless Little Deaths, it looks totally different. It's the same team, looks entirely different. It looks like gothic and old and kind of dirty and romantic in a sort of macabre way. And the fact that James was able to do that, he was able to make the same team look like totally different artists. That blew my mind, number one. And it showed me, number two, that he was going to be able to do whatever I put in front of him. So we needed Wild Wisps to be the best looking book possible. And I wanted Nebetsi to be able to look at the colors that we put over his beautiful work and feel proud of it. So pairing James with him was a no-brainer to me. And then we have Reed Hinckley Barnes on letters, and on edits is Chris Halton and Shannon Lee. Shannon Lee is the editor-in-chief of my company, Space Between Entertainment. She's the editor on all that we do. So yeah, it's I'm proud of this team. This book is one that I don't often choose to make a book ongoing before I see how number one performs, but I was confident that this would do well and would build over time. So as soon as we locked the team in, I thought, you know what, this will be what I hope it's going to be. So I'm going to throw everything at it.
I love that so much. How many issues are you planning, or is that kind of still in the air?
Yeah, no, it's just ongoing for now. I have arcs planned out. I know the overall, the long form arc for this part of the story, but I'd say for now at least 12. At least 12 is where we end up.
That's awesome. So let's go ahead. We're going to check out the Kickstarter and see what all the hype is about. So how does the script work with you and the artist? Do you have kind of a good idea what you would like them to do, or is everything, kind of collaboration between the two?
Great question. It's both. There are some titles where I fully pull back and I give a very short description. Like, for example, Only Friends with Pen, that is a rom-com with erotic elements, and most of the storytelling is in the art and the dialogue. And Manos, who's drawing that, he has such a good sense of these characters that I can give about 1 or 2 sentences per panel. I don't really give panel sizes or big actions. I just say who's doing what, and then I tell my part of the story over the dialogue. With Wild Wisps, since there's so many moving parts, it's not just following two characters on their journeys. Wild Wisps is building a universe, a world. So I put a lot into the script. It's full of references. It's full of clarification about where a certain place should be versus a place that we were just at, and certain powers. So I put a lot into it. What's interesting, though, as far as the collaborative angle, is that most of the artists that I've worked with have wanted me to write fewer panels into the script. The Betsy, if I write 6 panels, the page is going to be 12. If I write 7 panels, 20 panels. He picks these perfect moments to highlight and to bring out a beat of action or a character beat. Like, for example, scroll down one tick. This one right here. That was supposed to be just a single panel that shows the Guardians and the Wisps that they're trying out with. But he added these background panels that give us a good look at their faces. And that, to me, just shows he's such a designer. He added a design flair to this page that I didn't picture. On my end, my focus is to tell the story and to make everything cohesive. With Betsy, he is adding such an interesting and cool element that when I see him do things like this, it inspires me to write very challenging things for him as we go along.
So give us a little bit about Kino. They lost everything. They're coming from nothing. I mean, what's his motives in this world?
His motive is number one, to keep his wisp safe. He and Tonka Rex, they're all that each other has. And they both feel that the war is coming to a place where if they don't get involved, they're going to be left victims, and that the remainder of the area where they grew up, the people who were around, are going to be decimated by this war. So he and Tonka Rex entered this war by joining the Guard. And as they begin to rank up in this army, they have to come to terms with if they're going to show their hand and reveal the secret about this mythic wisp, which may also be disastrous because, sort of like the development of a bomb. If this information gets into the wrong hands, if the person that learns about this through him isn't loyal or isn't on the side that he wants, that could end up making what he feared come true. So he's doing this, one, because he has nothing else to do. His life has been wiped clean, destroyed, and he doesn't want that to happen to anybody else. And he also has a sense of revenge. What happened to him, he knows who did it and why it was done, and he is going to get into a place where he is in position to do to them what was done to him. Ooh.
I love dilemmas like that, because do you get your revenge or do you take the higher road?
Right, and honestly, personally, who's to say that not taking revenge is the lower road? Sometimes people deserve to be, revenged upon.
Absolutely. So here are some of the Wisp. This guy, absolutely gorgeous. I love the color scheme. I love the wings. I need to pet the belly. But a mythic one right here. I am such a fan of like the glitter, like nebula feeling to it.
Oh, gorgeous. Yeah, that was designed by Celtis. Celtis is an incredible cover artist. She's doing the covers for all, for this she did A and B, the first 2 covers, but we have her on the first cover A of every issue of this first arc. She designed many of the characters, including Kino, Tonka Rex, and as we go along, each cover will either show her drawing a fan favorite Wisp or a brand new one. We have this one where she draws this sea dragon creature who we're going to reveal in issue 3. That's just mind-blowing to me.
So I see we have a tier over here working with trading card game artists. So we're getting a trading card game too?
Not a game for this. That tier actually shows covers done by Pokemon trading card game artists. So, yeah, I grew up watching, loving, collecting Pokemon cards, and a few of those artists stood out in major ways. You know, I still collect to this day, and I thought, since this is a creature-based story, why not reach out to some of those artists? And while Wisps is a lot more adult focused than Pokemon, so we wanted to make sure that their covers were the ones that were a bit more whimsical, so that they didn't feel uncomfortable drawing any violence or anything like that, because the world is pretty intense, so we were able to sort of have these more fun, light options, like this one, Cover D by Yukamori. Some collectors might know her clay Pokemon cards, and she created a clay Tonkarex for us. And in fact, I actually have that right here.
Oh my God, you probably lost it when you got that.
Oh yeah, she's the best. And then we have Koki Sato is the next one. One of the most prolific Pokemon card artists from back in the days when I was collecting in junior high, all up until now. And I want to keep doing that. I've been reaching out to Digimon artists, Pokemon artists, and I want to find other titles that I grew up on that sort of developed my love of creatures, monsters, animals, and have them work with us. I love how, in the case of Yuka, how Tonkarex was sculpted and photographed. In the case of Koki, how the Wisp was illustrated, painted, and just seeing some artists that you wouldn't normally see in comics was very appealing to me.
This reminds me, I remember my grandma one time got me Pokemon cards, and God bless grandmas, right? Because they always try to do the right thing, but they're so far removed from like what's current that, they're just taking a gamble. And she got me Japanese ones. And I remember I was like, oh man, I can't use these. I can't even read these. I didn't know that it was the second gen. Because at the time it was just first gen for us, and somehow she got a hold of these Japanese second gen, and this is before like the internet and everything. And I pulled an Umbreon, a foil Umbreon, and it was so gorgeous. And this cover just reminds me of that Umbreon standing like in the sky, like on the cliff with the moonlight behind it and everything. Gorgeous.
Oh, I know the exact card. I actually wonder who did that. I'm gonna look it up right now, because it would be funny if it was Koki Sato. I don't think it is, but that is a great card.
Yeah, I would lose my mind, but these covers are just gorgeous. Now, I seen an interesting comment on Twitter, and maybe you can give some feedback, and feel free to decline if not, but it was about having variants and everything. Like, what is the importance of variant covers to you?
Importance of variant covers to me, I think that sometimes writers are they're so into stories. I was going to say themselves, and that's true. If we're not big-headed, then we wouldn't be doing this. The idea of having people pay to read our words, kind of egocentric. So we all have an element of that, but I think that writers are seeing it from the perspective of someone who wants to read a story, and that's true. People who buy comics largely do, but comics aren't just that. Comics are collectibles as well. They are like trading cards in some way. It's not soulless as some writers think it is to appeal to both. If it was just a story, it would be prose. Artwork is to be looked at, appreciated, and collected. I have no qualm with someone who wants to buy my comic and put it up, in a case. The art is a character that I created. The book is of my creation. So I think that writers would do well if they could remove the ego of that and let collectors collect. There is a booming collectors market. They want different cover images. They want to see the characters displayed, depicted in different ways. And I love it too. If we were only doing 1 or 2 covers per issue, so many of those images that I love that are imprinted in my brain wouldn't exist. So I see those readers who talk about how they wish that comic book creators weren't so focused on variants, and I personally don't get that sentiment, because it's not a focus. To create a cover concept is 5 minutes for me. To write the story is not gonna creating the cover concept and approving the art is not taking time away from writing. So they're complaining about what doesn't exist for them. If they don't want the cover, cool. Somebody else clearly does. These variants do sell very well. So I think that both anyone complaining it's just not for them. So I think that kind of dialing back from that and seeing that people do want these and it's not harming anyone, it's not taking away from the book. I think that's the best way to look at it.
And these interiors are just absolutely gorgeous. Here are some lettered previews, and I mean, I could just spend, I guess, hours like going over just how in depth this coloring is. This entire like background with all these illuminating different colors. This is just like you said. There was a lot going into the script, and like seeing the actual finished product, you can definitely tell there, some work went into this.
Yeah, I love it. Actually, that panel right there, if you just scroll down one tick to the end of this page, that right there, that just shows what Betsy adds to it. The ribbons on Harry are making this heart shape, and he's done it in a way where that image could be a poster, could be a cover. It looks iconic, but it's natural. That's so hard to do. I think that there are things that make artists very special that don't get talked about often enough, and making iconic art seem natural is such a big thing. Clunky iconic moments they stand out like a sore thumb to me. I still remember watching Sons of Anarchy, and I saw they have this one frame where Jax has his back to us as I think he's putting on his vest, and he's so posed in front of an American flag, and it's clear that they're going for this iconic image. And it stood out to me as, wow, they do not have their feet yet. So I think that artists who can do both, who can create memorable images that you're going to think about beyond the page, while also having moments that flow, scenes that feel natural, that's such a hard thing to do.
I really like Reed's lettering in this. The way he letters not only the narration and the characters, but the Wisp themselves. Like their lettering is, I feel, really awesome. We have this one having the green, of course, and then this one having the pink. What I'm assuming is the super evil one, because everything's red with this guy. I also really love this too, seeing everyone from its vision, its point of view. That's really awesome.
Thank you. It's funny. Reed asked me a question early on. As he was beginning his work, he said, "Do you want a different font for each Wisp?" And I was like, God, what a loaded question, because like, if I say yes, am I the asshole? So I just said to him, I was like, hey, if it's something that you can do, let's do it, and he did it. He definitely did it. And every Wisp, we definitely do work on it, like for example, the red text was originally kind of small, and we ended up working out to make it bolder so you could read it in a way that it stays small, so it doesn't cover the art, but it's more legible. And he plays with the depth of these bubbles, like you see the red clouds around it. He's definitely doing a lot here.
And just this right here in particular, just this guy getting tore up, his Wisp going after him, and so much action happening here. How much violence can we expect from this series?
I mean, that's pretty much. I wouldn't have things like this happen on every page, but I wanted it to happen early on and be in the preview on Kickstarter. So you don't, not everyone reads the text. Not everyone's going to see that it's about a war. So I wanted anyone who might think that this book is going to be, I've mentioned that I like Pokemon and Digimon. I don't want anyone to buy this under the impression that they're going to read a story that's like Pokemon, because they're going to be traumatized, So I wanted to put that early on to show what we're gonna see.
This is so cool too. The trading cards. These are gorgeous. Are they gonna be foil too, or?
Some of them are, yeah, yeah,
That's so cool.
yeah.
So how many trading cards do you have now? Just this, or do you have a couple?
So we have 9 that are shown, and we unlocked, I believe, 3 more. And if we hit all our stretch goals, I believe we're gonna unlock 2 more after that. And
That's
listen,
so cool.
I love trading cards. I do a trading card game for Destiny New York. I have one right here. This is a
Hold on, let me
card that we have there. This is foil. And yeah, these are going to be similar, same provider. And yeah, what we're doing with these though is they aren't. This won't be a game. I'm open to a game later on, but my main goal was to have people get to know what these creatures are. So these, the first set of cards, shows the background, some power information about these wisps, so you can learn about the characters while collecting.
So let's go through some of the tiers real quick. Everyone that is watching right here is a link to check it out with us. And like I said earlier, you can back, we would love to see it, but simply putting this on Facebook and Twitter helps just as much, and word of mouth costs you nothing at all. We have a digital PDF coming in at $7, the deluxe digital at $15. We have cover A coming in hot at $20. And then we have B, C, D, and E all at $25 as well. And these are all very gorgeous covers.
Thanks.
Very, very gorgeous. I mean, do you ever make these like posters just to hang up? I if I ever break into as a writer, I think that I would have to cover my walls with all these covers. Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you this. We have my first ever set of 11 by 17 prints. I shouldn't say first ever. One time, I printed a single page story as an 11 by 17, but I sold it at one convention, and then my car was stolen with the prints in there. And we found the car, and it was ruffled through. The car was fine, but they took the prints and nothing else.
What
so, yeah. So someone has like 75 prints of this single page comic story. But we have next week, 5 of our covers are going to be coming through as these bigger prints. Most of them are going to backers, but I'll have 5, for the office for myself.
And then we have actually the rest of the covers too were at 25 too. I didn't have enough time to scroll down and see that. We have the Ultimate Digital at 25. What's going to be included in this bundle?
So that includes the previous story. I do an annual every year. Space Between Entertainment is my company, and we begin the year with a 3-story annual. This one was Emerald Fantasies. It introduced Wild Wisps with a short, and also included a Destiny New York story and a Gangster F Barista story. So this gives Wild Wisps readers a chance to get that initial story. It is a prologue to what we're doing here. It is an essential reading. You can hop into number 1 and understand entirely, but it does add a level of depth to one of the characters.
And then we also have, this is the physical copies then?
Yes, that's right.
At $38, so not a bad price at all. We have the Celtis Collection, which will get you the trading cards, so awesome tier.
Yeah. That Tonkarex is actually the initial design of the character. So you got both Celtis covers and both trading cards.
We have the Wild Wisp issue 1, the hollow foil cover, coming in at $50. The second one at $50 as well. And then the third one. I just love that cover too. This is just such, every time I see it, I'm just like, damn, dude, this is like magical, it feels.
I can't wait for that one. Yeah. Yes. Seeing that in foil is going to be so crazy. I mean, I wish I had a foil. I'm going to check actually if I have a hollow foil one to show you guys. I don't think I do on hand, but if I do, it'll be very sick. Let's see. One more shot. Maybe. Yep, I do.
Ooh.
I have the foil version of that Emerald Fantasies cover. So this is how our hollow foil covers look.
Oh yeah, that's gorgeous. Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah. So it's gonna be rainbow there, and just imagine that art with this treatment.
Yeah, that's beautiful. We have the metal cover at $75, then the Wisp Guardian at $99. This is going to have the standard covers without the special variants.
That's right. This is how our metals look. Sort of like silvery gold vibe there, and it's an actual piece of metal affixed to the comic. And it's hard, it's sharp, you can kill somebody with this thing. Don't.
If you do, though, you didn't hear it from here. And then we have some awesome collections as well, coming in hot at $120. This will get you cover E, the holofoil cover, and then that metal cover as well. The Ultimate Wisp Guardian, $330. What's this going to include?
That includes all the available covers, including both foils and the metal, as well as Emerald Fantasies.
So let's go. If you guys are watching, be sure to hit that link and check it out. That being said, Pat, for anyone on the fence about backing, what would you like to say to them to kind of help push them over that hump?
Get off the fence. It's a great book. We have I love long form storytelling. One of the things that pushed me toward Kickstarter was that I saw comic book companies moving toward 3, 4, 5 issue miniseries, and retailers scared to order heavy enough on a number one that publishers wouldn't want to go into an ongoing series, because the format of pre-orders, it's kind of hard to explain to someone who isn't even into comics, just like the general reader. But the retailer has to assume how number one will sell while ordering number 3. Those orders have to be in before number one's even out in most cases. So publishers definitely shifted their mentality in the 2010s, and you begin to see less ongoing series. And that's what I loved about reading. I loved Why the Last Man. I loved Preacher. These comic books that you could follow characters over a long period of time. And that's what Kickstarter has allowed me to personally do. I have multiple series that I've been writing for years now, and this is one that I plan to stay with for quite a long time. So if you are a fan of animals, creatures, fantasy, and just good comics, this is one that you can invest in and have a good story as soon as you read it. Number one tells an interesting and dynamic story itself. But if you're interested in long form and staying with the book for a long time and growing with the characters, this is the book for you.
So before we let you go, we do have 2 questions I always ask. And I think it would be dumb not to make this, I guess, a Kickstarter related one, since you've done, you're up to 53. For anyone starting a Kickstarter for the first time, what would be the biggest piece of advice you could offer them?
This I always say is explore the platform. The best part about Kickstarter, as far as what it does for new creators, is that nothing disappears. It's all there. You can explore how campaigns both succeeded and failed to see what works and what doesn't work. And, something that I see way too much is people blaming their Kickstarter struggle on external forces. Oh, the market is this. People didn't get to see this, and that. The roadmap to success is there. You can just look at my campaigns, for example. I studied the people who did what I wanted to do. There's every genre has its successes. Every genre has its failures. You can see what backers like, what backers don't. You can see what pisses backers off. You can look at campaigns and see a bunch of angry comments. Ask yourself why. How did this creator get into hot water? Did they not communicate enough? Oh, okay. So when I launch, I'll make sure to update every month. If you look at the Twitter feed of some comics creators, you might learn that when a month passes and the campaign isn't fulfilled, backers begin to see a button. They can press a button that warns the creator, you haven't updated in a while. Update. Me, personally, I learned that, and I think, they'll never see it. The button won't appear because I'll always update before it appears. I'll never allow 30 days to lapse because I want to be able to make sure that backers know that I'm there. One of the biggest pieces of advice that I give is, if you're late, don't worry about it. Don't torture yourself. Don't wait until you have the answer. Tell backers why you're late. Don't wait for the fix. So many people think, I have nothing to share. I can't explain myself. I am in a bad situation. I'm going to wait until it's fixed and then get back to everyone, apologize, and they'll understand. No, they'll understand now. You're a person. You're not a store. You're selling stuff, yes, but they are creating a direct relationship with a creator, you. So tell them what's going on. Talk to them like people. They are people. So are you, and they know that. So the more that you communicate, the more that you're clear about your process, the better it's going to be for you. So that, and also just exploring Kickstarter, learn all of it, see what goes live, see what struggles, see what succeeds, see how campaigns fund fast, and just follow the trends as far as how you want to. Don't feel obliged to do the kind of book that's hot, you know? For example, now, Not Safe for Work is hot. I don't think that readers want people who don't want to make those books making those books.
Yeah.
When I make that book, I want to make it. I have an idea. I have characters I love. I have a story I want to tell. I never think, oh, I'm going to fit this story that doesn't fit into Not Safe for Work and mold it for the audience. No, I want to do those stories. When I was starting out, I wanted to do those, and it was scary. The idea of doing a Not Safe for Work comic in the mid 2000s, 2010s, that was a nightmare. You know, that was a very hostile time for books that had any element of sexuality. So don't force yourself into what you don't want to do. This trend is working right now because it's not available in the mainstream, and creators who are good at it, who want to do it, are doing it. There'll be other trends, you know. If one fits you, cool, follow it. Just be aware of them. Be aware if you're going against trend, so you could focus your campaign on building your buzz in a different way. If you can't capture trends naturally, don't chase them. Instead, just be aware.
Awesome advice. And if that advice helped you guys, be sure to check out this campaign. And, you know, simple backing is a great way to say thank you. So, Pat, last but not least, what are you consuming outside of creating? You know, video games, TV shows, books? What have you been up to?
Right now, I am pretty obsessed with the clash between Aubrey Graham and Kendrick Lamar.
It's insane, dude. It's insane, dude.
Bro, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I'm loving the showmanship of it all. I love Kendrick. I'm a big Drake guy. I personally, I take Drake over Kendrick, but this Kendrick song, bro, I've listened to this thing. It came out yesterday. I listened to it like 85 times, just over and over and over again. The art of it, the intricacy of it, and the same with Drake. When he put out his 2 songs, I was doing the same thing. It's just such an interesting moment in music. I'm loving that. There should be more of that energy in comics, you know. I would love it. Bro, I would love it.
Just shooting shots in a panel at someone.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it, you know. If writers, you know, that they feel it's cool to shoot shots in subtweets on Twitter, make it into art. Why not? Why just be a picture about it, you know?
Pat says, this is Pat's call to anyone out there, you know, say it with your chest like
take money off your hate, you know. Kendrick is racking up the streams off of hating the way that Drake walks and talks.
Didn't J. Cole drop a song and then apologize?
Yeah, the softest shit of all time. Listen, I also love J. Cole. I love J. Cole, and the inconsistency of it is personally hurtful for me. I don't want to exaggerate and say that what J. Cole did is the rap version of my 9/11, but it's pretty close. Because he took away something that I love. You know, his music, how he talks about, he's aggressively saying he's the best. Mm-hmm. Anyone that challenges him, he's there. Someone challenged him, he was there briefly, and then he apologized.
And then, and then Drake caught the hands.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. I think that both Push Ups and Euphoria are all-time diss tracks. And I mean, honestly, I'm very impressed with Kendrick. Drake is battle tested. Kendrick did his Control verse. That to me, that was more fun. You know, in some ways instigated this years ago, but that was more competitive and fun. But before this, Drake had back to back. He had Duppy, and you know, he throws think this is all the time. You know, even his mainstream songs. Meltdown was about Pharrell and Pusha T. So Drake is battle tested. But Kendrick coming through and putting that out, I'm not surprised, but I'm very happy with it, I'll say. And aside from music, what am I doing? I love rewatching shows. I recently I rewatched The Sopranos. I'm rewatching when I visit my mother. We rewatched Buffy. I'm rewatching 6 Feet Under. Those three, 6 Feet Under and Sopranos especially, I always go back to. That era of HBO to me is unrivaled. Leftovers is one that I always go back to as well. So I'm more in a going back to stuff phase. Also, I am watching, speaking of HBO, for the first time watching True Detective. So I'm toward the end of season 1 there and loving that. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, this has been one hell of a sit down, Pat. I appreciate you booking with me on the fly and being flexible. I mean, midnight's a hard slot to fill, but we came here, we did the damn thing, and man, this was one hell of a sit down. I appreciate it.
For sure. Thank you so much.
Everyone watching, I hope you all have a fantastic night. Most importantly, though, keep it geekly.